All right, week 9. The following day was Saturday. Basically, as soon as we got up, we started the day, so we drove to Lake Tahoe. We took 2 cars because we decided that Caleb and I would stay the night while Joe, Karina, and Noah would pick up Naomi Stanky, the next morning from the airport. Thus, I drove Joe and Karina while Noah and Caleb went in Caleb's car. It was a cool drive. Got to listen to some Owl City, so that was nice. Once we got there, I realized in my brilliance that I had remembered to bring water shoes, but I forgot to bring swim trunks, so I just swam in my shorts. We got to see some baptisms, which was cool. Got to stand in cold water and explain free will to Karina, primarily, but Reese and Caleb vicariously, and that was also cool, in both senses. And then I got to play some games of Spikeball, and Reese and I almost beat Calvin and some other guy who was really good, but I can't remember his name. And it was also just cool, a good game. But the sand there sucked, like actual trash sand, just gotta say. After that, a guy, Scott, the pastor of Calvary, hooked us up. And that doesn't make sense. Oh, I see. And lent us his propane grill, which was super nice, and we ate food. After that, Caleb and I parted ways with the rest of the squad, and we drove back to the campsite and set up beds and stuff. Ellie did this complicated process for trying to hold up Caleb's hammock, which took actually ages, and then Reese came over and was like, how about we make this not the worst? And they worked together and redid it, and it was way better. But it still took like a solid 30 minutes to hang up the hammock, and so that seemed excessive. However, they got it done, and Ellie let me a tarp to sleep on, and that was cool. And then we just did stuff. We played a bit of Spikeball, which is always fun. And we did a game of 9 Square, which is supposed to be like adult only, but it turned to anyone of any age. It's like the in the air 9 Square, which made the line super long, but it was also a decent time. Oh, and at some point we got gelato. That was good too. Then later that night, we went on a walk by the lakeside, and the stars were fantastic. Actually, spectacular stars. As we sat there, Chase tried to set like an existential mood, but no one really got on board, so the conversation kind of evolved into the location of the moons respective to one's personage and certain bodily analogs thereof. Yep, that's all I'm going to say about that. Anyway, it was an okay time, but sad there weren't any seriously deep conversations, as I do love those. And once we got back, we all went to bed. I slept pretty poorly. I, don't really sleep well when we do camping stuff. But whatever. I felt like I was awake the whole night, except for like an hour before the sun rose, so I only got like a few weeks. But yeah, not a surprise. Reese gave me some coffee in the morning, so that helped. Oh, and Eli, not Ellie's, I see. Eli's family was super nice and gave Caleb and I a more proper breakfast that morning, so that was good. We then played this red flag game. It's like apples to apples, but with dating. As well as a game called Throw Burrito, which is like spoons, but chucking a burrito. And both those were pretty great. Caleb and I had the best burrito duel, in my professional opinion. It was around then that a bunch of freshman girls showed up, and it turns out that I have an abiding phobia of freshman girls. And I was kind of hoping that when Grace brought all her friends over, it was just kind of a one-off thing, but no, I'm fairly convinced freshman girls scare me. It's not like all girls scare me, mind you, just particularly freshman girls. Why it is, I cannot say. Anyway, when I was offered the opportunity to go down to the lake with Lindsay, Ellie, Eli, Reese, and thus escape the freshman girls, I very happily accepted and joined them. It turns out Eli is really good on a bike. Side note. So yeah, we biked down there, just kind of chilled for a while. Reese managed to make an arch tower rock with small, that was small, but nonetheless impressive. We then headed back, just kind of hung out until we got sandwiches from the local store. And man, those sandwiches were pretty great. Also massive. Oh, and we said our final goodbyes to Chase and Lex, which is really sad until we, awkwardly came back before they left. So, pro move on our part. However, we did end up leaving for real after that and heading to this fancy beach, which I can't remember the name of. Everyone but me went cliff jumping, and yeah, it totally sucked to be shown up by freshman girls. Just another reason why they're scary. But my abiding phobia from the California incident has apparently a stronger force than my pride. Plus, the jump did seem a bit sketchy. Also, one of the girls had something happen with a bug bite that she was allergic to, so that was rough, and we had to take her back to camp. Once we got back, we played a bit of Spikeball, heard a med teaching, and then drove home. I got to sleep on the way back, so that was pretty great. And once we got back, Naomi was there, and we did recaps with her, and I watched one episode of anime before going to bed. As for yesterday, it was a free day, which was great, and that meant I could catch up on sleep that I missed the previous day. Thus, I slept a full 12 hours, and it was beauty incarnate. I did some chores around the house, did some quiet time, had breakfast, said hi to Ben, and talked with mom and dad back home. Then I talked with Noah over some table tennis, and yeah, we just kind of hung out. The whole day was just kind of spent recalibrating. And that was basically all that was said to be, all there is to be said for yesterday. 7:26. All right, gotta go way back, but here we go. The last day I covered was Wednesday, so that puts us at Thursday. Basically, Thursday was just chill. We started to clack off. I don't know what that means. We started to clack off our morning regimen. Oh, slack. We started to slack off our morning regimen last time, so that was kind of unfortunate, but nevertheless, I still had a good time. Basically, we did witchcraft computer hacking to try and get Terraria to work cross-platform with my computer, so Ben and Caleb and Noah's phones could all play together, which was most of the day. And I think that happened Thursday, but no guarantees. I will say, though, even though it was just, someone who's kind of telling me how to do it on the internet, it was pretty cool that I actually changed the code and figured out how to, actually get it done after an hour and a half. My hard work coming to fruition. There's a reason why I coded once. Anyway, at that point, that's about all I remember happening that day before we went to a send-off party for Reese. He was kind of throw. It was actually a pretty good time. Got to play a tiny bit of badminton, which I haven't done in actual ages. Then spent a good amount of time in spikeball, which was really fun as always. And plus, recently I even got to teach Lizzie spikeball. And I mean, it was mostly Reese, but still, it's good. I appreciate that, even though he's so competitive, like he can take time and slow down to teach people things. Oh, and I also had some really close games against Caleb and Ben, which was really fun. However, it got dark, so we all started like talking, and we got to have a really good conversation with Steven. He had a lot of really good questions, and I had just a really fun time answering all of them. See, I think he enjoyed it so much because he actually like appreciated the hard work. I think I enjoyed it so much because he appreciated the hard work and sophistication that went into my answers. Like, philosophy is a pretty thankless job in general, and even though I'm actually pretty darn advanced, it's not something that people just recognize like other accomplishments. You know, it's like my philosophical mind is the buffness equivalent of Reese's chiseled body, but unfortunately it's just not as cool because no one can see the buffness of your mind. Anyway, the point is Steven appreciated my knowledge set, and I appreciated him appreciating my nerdom. After that, we had a really good conversation. Reese joined in for a bit on the tail end, and he also tried to kick us out at like 11:30 or something, but we stayed ages way past that, and it was a great time. I'm really going to miss those guys. Once we got home, nothing much happened, and we kind of also went to bed. The next day was beach day. After waking up, having breakfast, etc., we all got in cars and journeyed to the coast. I drove the car with Joe, Karina, and Naomi. It turns out Naomi and I have really similar music tastes, and we knew a lot of the same songs, so that was cool. I got to check out a few artists she showed me. We then were going to cancel our hotel. We were going to cancel our hotel reservations once we discovered that they had been. Oh, I see. When we discovered we spent over our budget on them, but when we called them, they told us they gave us a whopping 0% refund if we canceled, so we decided to keep the reservations anyway. It was an okay hotel. Caleb kind of talked it up, but it was a bit disappointing. So, you know, anyway, it was still good. Once we got settled in, we decided to stop at a nearby Safeway shop for dinner, and each of us was allotted $11 budget. And that was kind of meh. But afterward, as we were all eating, I asked Ben if I could trade some of my food for his, and then like a whole trading war broke out. We started bartering for each other's food and trading for what we wanted, and it was great. Actually enjoyed that a ton. Also, I totally won the trading war. I had by far the most well-rounded and delicious meal by the end of it. After that, we stopped back to our rooms and then headed to San Fran, originally to watch the sunset, sunset on the beach. But we ended up climbing these rocks that were engulfed by the tide and walk around the ocean in like these cool ruins. But on the way there, the one thing that happened is we were coming to San Fran. There was like this wall of fog rolling in. You could see like Alcatraz on the wall. It was just super cool. Plus, the Golden Gate Bridge was a place where we like hit the fog. It was just such a cool view. I wish I could show you. So yeah, climbed around the rocks and stuff. That was good. And then that was when me and Caleb's car parted ways, and Ben, Noah, and Caleb went to explore the city at night while Naomi, Karina, Joe, and I went back to the hot tub. The conversation was honestly kind of meh, in my opinion, because nobody believes in conspiracy theories, and Joe was basically like, that's dumb, and then it got all political. But we did get to have some good conversation nonetheless. The whole adventure was cut short by the hot tub closing, and it was around then that the others rejoined us at our rooms. We had a quick conversation about Joe and Karina's relationship status and where it was at, and then we basically all went to bed. Of course, that night I slept like trash. I always sleep poorly in hotels. The issue of sleep deprivation was made worse because Ben and I agreed to get up at 6 to get breakfast early in the morning and then eat in the hot tub, which meant I only got like 4 hours of sleep, but it was worth it to hang out with my bro. The food was super unhealthy, which kind of sucks since I've been trying to like eat well up to this point in time, but it was kind of like, oh well, and we just ate like I did before the trip. And to be fair, it was quite enjoyable. And yep, Ben and I ate, chilled in the hot tub, though it was too hot, so we jumped in the pool a few times, and just generally caught up, so that was good. Around 9, everyone else got up and got breakfast, and then shortly after, we got on the road for our surfing lessons. And I've got to say, the drive there was almost cooler than surfing, because man, the roads were narrow and windy, and it was very fun to drive. So the one thing I've got to give California credit for is, like, realistic speed limits. Like, what they do is set the speed limit at, like, 45, and then advise you to go 20 around the corner. But see, what that means is I'm legally allowed to go 45 around the corners. It's just fantastic. Colorado should do that. The drive was probably the most fun, like, just normal road I've ever driven. And the music was good, and so it was a good time. Once we got there, finding a parking spot was a nightmare, but we got it sorted after a while. And yeah, we got on our wetsuits, which were fantastic, by the way. I've worn a wetsuit once before, but man, they keep you warm. Actually, the best. We then journeyed down to the beach with our boards. The instruction part was pretty useless, both because I had already had surf lessons in New Zealand and because everything he said was pretty intuitive. But once we got on the waves, it was pretty great. So the one thing I did do a ton in New Zealand was boogie board, and thus I'm really good at knowing how and when to catch a wave. So some of the squad, plus, were having trouble catching waves, but I was just like getting everyone I tried, so that was cool. However, the standing up was still challenging for me. I did do it for like a few seconds a number of times, but my long runs were few and far in between. But still, I did get a few runs that were pretty long in. So yeah, overall good time. No way worth we paid for it, but nevertheless good. After that, we had some payment issues because there wasn't cell service and the dude's card reader wasn't working, so that was rough. We got all sorted out. And the two cars parted ways once more, and my car walked down by the beach per Karina's request. At this point in my life, beaches aren't all that special since I spent so much time in New Zealand. But understandably, they still have their charm for those among us that can count on their hands the number of times they've been to a beach. Once the sublimity of the ocean wore off, we started our drive back, and got to drive this really cool coastal road with switchbacks, which was like the one I mentioned before. The only trouble was this time I was stuck behind a car going actually so slow, so that sucked. But other than that, it was just like interstate driving, which is pretty boring. About two-thirds of the way through, I switched out with Joe and just kind of slept the whole rest of the way, which was super nice. And I'm still tired from the previous morning's poor night's sleep. And yeah, we made it home without incident, and then we all just crashed because we were all pretty tired. As for Friday, yeah, I think it was Friday. Well, it was just another chill day. But on this day, we did the legendary Chica dance, performed by none other than Noah himself, did indeed occur. I would link a video, but I'm afraid I'm bound by a strict agreement forbidding such viewing, lest the party pay to see it. Thus, the best I can do is link a video of the Chica dance, and you can utilize your imagination to extrapolate as you will. So yeah, that was beautiful, and Noah performed wonderfully, worthy of my dwindling financial means. Other than that, that day I played some more Terraria with Ben and Caleb, but as I was doing so, Naomi chastised me for sticking my head in the game for ages, so I accepted her chastisement and changed my course of action. To what, you might ask? Well, to a writing duel. See, back when I used to do creative writing a lot, there were these forums where we did, well, a lot of things, but namely writing duels, where the idea was one of us would write like the first half of the scene, and the others with the other's character in it, and then the other would finish the second half of the scene in the same fashion. I remember it being pretty fun back in the day, hence why I suggested it originally. But we didn't quite do that. Instead, we did more of like a paragraph by paragraph role play, which was still good, but not exactly what I had in mind. Overall, I'd say I went okay. I think I wrote a bit better than Naomi in quality, but I didn't largely fight back because it was inconsistent with my character and the situation I was in to actually win the fight. So it's more like Naomi was attacking me, so I did try not to die in the role play. So I kind of lost. But anyway, it was a good time, and I clearly enjoyed it decently because the time went by super fast, and thus it was ended prematurely. Overall, decent. After that, Naomi made cucumber sandwiches, which, despite their easy construction and humble ingredients, I enjoyed quite a bit. And then we all left for a tea party on the rocks. See, when we were doing the See If You Can Navigate Home Without a Map challenge in Wildwood, which is the place we stayed, we stumbled across this pretty cool area where we had these like big boulders. At the time, I was like, wouldn't it be fun to have a picnic or something there? And thus I came up with the idea, and everyone was like, yeah, let's try it. So we all dressed up all fancy like, and I brought my speaker and played some good fancy music. And yeah, we had cucumber sandwiches and so many cookies, thanks to Joe and Karina's efforts. And yeah, it was a really good time. Like, I probably had more fun talking in our British accents. Well, I probably had more fun. Except, I had the most fun, I see. Except Lizzie, for obvious reasons. She tried to do an American accent, which is great. And, yep, we all did part of a story and just hung out and did a lot of things. And it was a pretty good experience. So, yeah, we stayed there until it got dark, and it was just a good time. Also, we drove our way, we drove away as one of the Wildwood security cars parked just where we were like a minute before. So I'm pretty sure if we had stayed like a minute longer, we would have gotten in trouble with the association. So that was a fun fact and, mini proof of providence, I suppose. And there you go. That is week 9.